that have grown up in the church that are of a certain vintage, or not of that younger generation, it's a little bit of I don't want to say a shock, but because it's been happening, we've seen this occur. But I think now that it's here, a lot of people are trying to figure out, what do I do? What do I do? And it's causing them to rethink what they do. And I've heard a lot of churches, they don't know what to do. They're relying on the models that were developed in the 70s, which was much more of that attractional nature. And I don't think that's the future. I think that that's going on its way out. And we do have to become these missional training centers, which is what Mike Goheen does in Phoenix. And I know with what Global Gates is doing, you were training a lot of people to do that. And I was looking through your website. You have short-term and long-term mission opportunities. Describe that for us a little bit.
Well, long-term are career missionaries, and we're always calling out the call to come and join us. Because we can see every people group now in North America having their own language, their own ethnic identity, which includes their religion, their cultural sensibilities, and their worldview. We're calling out missionaries to adopt a particular people group. So, for example, a missionary to Somalis, a missionary to Kurds, a missionary to Saudis, and the list goes on, Fulani and so forth, because we believe every people group deserves to have the gospel presented to them in their own language, their own culture, their own worldview. So when we have a missionary come and join us with Global Gates, one of the things that we try to block out time for them to do is learn language and learn culture, to immerse themselves in the community. Sometimes it means even going overseas to spend some time in Bangladesh or spend some time in Senegal, drinking in the culture and learning the language well, so when they come back, they can speak into that culture. Those are long-term assignments. We have a vast need for those. We could add 1,000 of those tomorrow.
Wow.
The other shorter term assignments, we do have opportunities for internships. Down in Houston, for example, we've got a 9-month internship where we've had Christian laypersons and pastors even leave their church and come and spend 9 months with us. We plug them into an unreached people group community, living in a neighborhood that maybe has Indonesians in it, or has Punjabi Muslims in that neighborhood, and it's kind of their concentration. And we teach them how to learn a language, how to exegete that culture and understand. And then their goal is always to get a Bible study started in that community with that people group. We train them. They meet together usually in the evenings, because many of these people who moved to Houston are taking up secular jobs to support what they're doing. And the evenings we'll have evening classes. We're bringing some of the best training that we have in North America. And then during the springtime, we always take them overseas. We take them to places like Indonesia and Bangladesh and India and Nepal and Pakistan and the United Arab Emirates. And, you know, every time when they go in the spring, by then they've had several months of training, and they're, as we say in the South, they're loaded for bear. They're just ready to go and pour out what they've learned. And they invariably see dozens of Muslims come to faith in Jesus Christ. And this last year, we even saw a young woman, one of our Global Gators led a young woman in Saudi Arabia to faith in Jesus Christ, because they were prepared now. They were well equipped. And then when they finish this 9-month internship, some will stay with Global Gates, some will go and join other organizations. We've been happy to train people who go and join Pioneers or Beyond Ministries or Crew or some other group, and go and serve the Lord in other places around the world. Finally, we have some really short-term opportunities. In the summer, we often have what we call sifting weeks. And sifting weeks are sometimes a week, sometimes 10 days, sometimes even a few days less than a week, in which volunteers will come and they'll plant themselves with us in New York City, somewhere in Queens, for example. A place like Jackson Heights is a town in Queens with over 200 different language communities in that one neighborhood. It's the most linguistically complex place in North America. But we'll train the folks in the morning. We'll get together, have some worship, maybe at a local church sanctuary, have some worship, a little bit of training, what to expect, how to go out into the neighborhood. And then we just send them out into those neighborhoods to sit in the coffee shops, to go into the parks, to strike up conversations, to find where God is at work, where people are having dreams and visions about someone in love reaching out to them, or someone handing them a book and they don't know what it means, where we can scatter 200 or 300 people into those neighborhoods, we'll find those places where God is at work. Out of the hundreds of thousands of people in those neighborhoods, we'll find those little persons of peace. And we call them sifting weeks, because as they find those, they'll develop a little relationship, get their name and address, and pass those back on to our missionaries, who can then do long-term follow-up with them throughout the year. And that's one of the things that's going on now in New York City. It's going on in Washington, D.C., in Detroit, in Houston, and other places around the country.